I'm just gonna say this right off the bat, Dave. The reason you are here is because DJ Nick was supposed to be the guest. I was actually specifically trying to find someone who is like uh, pretty well experienced with comics,
Oh, that's why I'm
and
here.
that's why you're here. I was, I was trying to find someone who's very experienced with comics because it is somewhat of a long-winded backstory that, like it helps to know, but then Nick was like, "Sorry, gents, can't do it anymore." And I said, "Well, shit, okay. So, who's the next best guy? Dave."
I love being second banana. It takes all the pressure. It takes off all the pressure. I could
Absolutely.
fail. I could fail,
100%.
and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, but he was second string. It didn't
I
matter.
mean,
We kind of
you
expected it."
did so well, like so yeah. Um, I just I didn't want to have that secret between you and me because there's no
Thank you.
secrets between friends.
No,
Um,
no, and thank you
yes.
for setting the bar so low. I
Of course,
appreciate it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
of course.
At least now I won't make my mother's prophecy come true, which was, Dave, you're going to disappoint. So I feel good about it now.
All right. Okay. So there is a reason that we're here today, and that is to talk about the Thanos Quest and one issue of Silver Surfer that like is its predecessor. It's really supposed to be Silver Surfer 34 to 38. But I'm too lazy to do that. I don't want to read all that. I don't want to talk about all that. So we're just gonna we're gonna recap everything that happened from Marvel 2 and 1 annual number 2 from 1977 up until Silver Surfer number 37. And then we'll kind of get into 38. So the things that happened from annual 2 and 1, excuse me, Marvel 2 and 1, Thanos has been dead since his defeat in Marvel 2 and 1 annual number 2 in 1977. And it is revealed in Silver Surfer number 34, 1990, that he is no longer dead. It is revealed in Silver Surfer number 35 that death brought him back to life, brought Thanos back to life with the intention of having him kill half of all living things in the universe. Through these issues, it is mentioned that Silver Surfer is the only being in the entire universe who can stand in the way of this plan. Okay, so now we're getting into number 38, which is the thing that we all read. The writer is Jim Starlin. The penciler sounds like a Batman villain. The penciler is Ron Lim. The inker is Tom Christopher, and the colorist is Tom Vincent. I think though the only thing that people care about is the penciler, the artist. So that's Ron Lim. So at the start of number 38, Thanos is on his old ship, which is now taken over by Nebula. Thanos asks very nicely if he can have his ship back, but Nebula refuses. And so Thanos shoots her bodyguard and severely burns her, which we will see later on in the Infinity Gauntlet. That I think that's what's that? Her granddaughter, Nebula,
Daughter.
daughter, just the daughter. Okay, yeah. Well, that just shows how sick he is and how hungry he is for power. So Thanos is called to speak with Death, who expresses her concerns that he is not killing half of the universe fast enough. He tells her everything is fine and that he must move slowly so as to avoid attracting attention. Meanwhile, Silver Surfer is called to the planet Pryaxlon, I think is how it's supposed to be pronounced, to battle Thanos, who has a plan to get Surfer out of the way so he can move on with his plan without interruption. Silver Surfer finds Thanos by hearing the vibrations from his transporter, or whatever that thing is, and Thanos evades attack by constantly teleporting away. Silver Surfer realizes that he has to destroy Thanos' device to defeat him, which he does. Unfortunately, this also kills Thanos, or so we are led to believe. As it turns out, Thanos knew every move that Surfer would make before he even got to Pryaxlon, and he merely faked his own death to get Silver Surfer out of the way. Okay, so that is the precursor to the Thanos Quest. Uh, that and like four other issues. Um, So Dave, as someone who knows nothing about this whole big thing, what did you think when you first got into that? Did you think, what have I gotten myself into?
So I thought to myself, first things first, I don't know anything about, I got to be honest, unlike most people I know who got exposed to Thanos through, what was it, Endgame and
Those
Infinity
movies,
War.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought Thanos really wouldn't find Silver Surfer to be a threat. I didn't see that. Maybe I'm wrong, but Thanos always seemed like he was like really powerful at stuff. And Silver Surfer has great powers, but not like that. I could be wrong. So I was kind of taken back by the fact that it was Silver Surfer that he was worried about. Um,
Mhm.
so that was my take on the Silver Surfer thing. Like I didn't see him as the major threat that Thanos would think he was the major threat.
I see. Okay.
But I also don't know
Oh,
much about Silver Surfer and how powerful he is. So for what
yeah,
that's
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one. I don't really. Thanos is like Silver Surfer is like the only being who is capable of getting in my way. Why is no one else able to get in his way? I don't understand it. Only Silver Surfer. But you know what? I guess for the purposes of making a ridiculously long story arc, not more ridiculously long, it was just Silver Surfer. Okay. Jason, the Collector.
Yes, as you know. So
Yes.
for me, I mean, the Silver Surfer is just imbued with the cosmic power of the universe. So that's the reason that Thanos is worried about him. That he feels like this one person or this one character can actually take me out or thwart me from doing my evil plans. That's pretty. I felt like the whole Silver Surfer issue was just. I don't want to call it fluff, but it was just very setupy to what was really the meat and potatoes of this whole story.
yeah.
Definitely, it was a necessary setup, I think, just because they knew what they were going to be writing later, and they were just sort of like, okay, well, how do we get Silver Surfer out of the way and still keep him in the story? So, like, yeah, okay,
Yeah, and I also
um,
like that it was Jim Starlin who was tagged to write this. He's actually the guy who created Thanos back in Iron Man number 55 way back in the day. So Thanos is definitely his baby, and he's always kind of had a plan for the character. And
nice.
I like that they pretty much let him see out his plan all throughout the 90s.
All right, and Ken, Yo Joe, Rander,
Yeah.
yeah,
So no, well, that's hopefully we're going to touch on that later because I mean, for those of you that I mean, GI Joe was in the same comic
uh-huh.
umbrella, and it was obvious what they were doing. So, but we'll get to that later. Anyway, this was I mean, I was really pleased this time. This is one of the times when I read this and I was like, "Oh, maybe John doesn't hate us."
No,
Because
not a
Why would
chance,
you start thinking that?
not a
I
chance, not a chance.
I know it's dumb, but just for a minute, I was like, wow, something I actually enjoyed. This was this was like ridiculously well done. I mean,
Mhm.
just every aspect of it, and just the idea that so I have the Infinity Gauntlet series, and it was like a special deal. It had special covers and different releases. These were just. Am I correct in assuming these were just like regular issues of comics? Like
The
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 Thanos
Silver Surfer
Quest, the
ones were.
Silver Surfer, yes, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
right. And were the Thanos Quest ones also, or were they
Those
like a special,
that was
release?
a two-issue limited series.
Yeah, I think they were more of a
Yeah,
prestige book too when they were released. They were much longer than a normal 32-page comic.
they were like 50
Okay,
pages each. Yeah, they
Yeah,
were. Yeah, well, 50
all right,
pages without the advertisements.
right, right.
Yeah.
all right. That was just the first thing I wanted to straighten out because just the idea that some of this would just be in a quote unquote regular comic issue is really impressive because it was just the storytelling was fantastic. The artwork at this time was some of the best that there was. So, and what I really enjoyed was I always like when they go into the cosmic aspect in some of these comics, and they do that very well with Thanos all the time. I thought what was really funny was at the very beginning, it was, and I'm gonna out myself, it was very much like a Star Trek episode when they're on the ship and
Yeah.
Nebula's like barking orders and they're talking about all like technical jargon of how they're. I was just like, this is a Star Trek episode, and she's got the Vulcan, Romulan haircut kind of thing going on.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
So it is. I mean, it was very much like that. That they're on the bridge of a ship and they're doing techno babble to each other. And I was like, okay, this is a really, really easy introduction for me, even though I already kind of had a cursory knowledge of it. But it was great to get into. I'm very interested in seeing what they do with Nebula issues later, because they're going to have to deal with how she was burned. So she was burned, right? And her second in command or whatever did like she put herself out in a shower or something, and he like wrapped her up and like got her onto an escape pod.
Wait, that was her second in command?
Or
whatever. The bald guy with the sunken eyes you're talking about with the
No, it was some like there was like two jackal guys. One guy that was serving her on the ship, and the other guy that was one of Death's people that
Like,
spoke for her.
For her, yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah.
It was like the old zombie guy with the long hair, like you're talking about, Dave. And then the jackal-headed guy. And then there was another jackal-headed guy, right? That was originally kind of the second in command on Nebula's ship.
I don't know.
I can't remember.
So I got confused. Now that we're talking about, maybe you guys can help me clarify this. So this guy over here, crap. I just dropped my phone. I have failed. Can you see this
yes.
guy?
Yes, okay, I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah,
the sunken-eyed guy. You're right.
You're right.
One. I was wrong about that.
He's the one that apparently picks her up and rescues
picks her up and rescues her.
But isn't he Thanos' minion?
No.
Okay.
He was second in command on the ship. That was my confusion too, because there's another guy I think that looks kind of like that.
Oh, maybe that's why I got confused, because I thought it was strange. Yes. I thought he was kowtowing to Thanos, and then when he burns Nebula, he picks her up and is like, I'm going to save you.
I'm going to save you. Right.
Now it makes more sense.
I thought that at first too.
Okay.
And then but anyway, the point I was making is what happens to her, because she's obviously going to look different and she obviously didn't die.
Right.
We see her in the Infinity Gauntlet eventually.
Oh yeah, no, we see that. She's
I read Infinity Gauntlet so long ago, and I just like put it in a box that
Thanos basically just continues to torture her.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Everybody needs a hobby.
Lot about it. Yeah.
Yes, it's true.
But I thought, but I mean, that was great. I love the opening of it, and that first one. I mean, I was aware of Silver Surfer. I know that he's just the idea that how powerful he is the kind of thing where I always thought that it wasn't that he necessarily was so ridiculously powerful. It's just that anytime he needed to be, that Galactus would just grant him that power because he was his herald, and you can't really, when he's heralding Galactus, he won't be defeated because he won't be turned away, or just that sort of thing. But that's beside the point. I know that Silver Surfer is kind of supposed to be a character that's on like a level you can't understand, that he's sort of godlike. So I think he's kind of like Supermanish in that way, that he's as powerful as he needs to be.
Well, they keep saying that he's been imbued with the cosmic power.
Yeah, the power cosmic. Yeah, I like how they always would say it backwards.
The power. They Yoda
it. Attorneys General, that kind. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Other things that don't matter.
Yeah, things that don't matter, right? So yeah,
but it was great. Loved it. Start to finish.
It was good setup, and I did I haven't read this in ages, so I kind of forgot about the whole thing with the Silver Surfer and how Thanos needed to make sure he wasn't in the picture. And I was like, oh, right. Good call.
Yeah, it was sort of like I said, he needed to make sure he was out of the way, so he distracts him with his fake death, just so Thanos Quest doesn't have to feature Silver Surfer getting in the way. So I'd be
Exactly.
like, okay, now I got my things and blah 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 blah. What I did think was kind of interesting was that at the end of this issue, it's like, oh, the story continues in Thanos's very own story arc, like 2 issue story arc. And I guess they didn't have a name for it yet because it just said his 2 issue story arc. So, you know, I
Almost
guess
like it
they
was still in production, maybe,
almost as
right?
if, I mean, yeah, this is the only time I had ever actually seen that kind of thing happen where, yeah, the because like I've always been like, oh, continued in Infinity Gauntlet, continued in X, Y, and Z, blah blah blah. Never seen it just vaguely described as his own 2 issue story arc. So, all right, now the reason we're here, the Thanos Quest, 1990. Well, the writer is the same, Jim Starlin, penciler Ron Lim, inker John Beatty this time. It's the only one who's different, and the colorist is Tom Vincent. So. After the events of Silver Surfer number 38, Thanos discovers what the 6 soul gems, which Thanos prefers to call the Infinity Gems, can really do while gazing into Death's infinity well. He convinces Death that he will be able to expedite the process of killing half of everything in the universe if he had access to these gems, excuse me. And so he sets off to steal the gems from everyone who owns them. Now, I haven't done like note descriptions in a while, but there is just so many parts that go with certain people that I had to do these notes. So we're kind of going back to a little bit of an older style here. So first, he goes to the Nexus of Reality, where the In-Betweener is being held prisoner by Lord Chaos and Master Order. He lies about needing a bodyguard and that he would break him out of his weird sphere prison thing if he agrees to do so. The In-Betweener agrees to the deal, and Thanos breaks him out, only to steal the eponymous Soul Gem. It's the only one. It's called the Soul Gems, and this one is called the Soul Gem, off of his head. He leaves knowing that Lord Chaos and Master Order will be none too happy, which they weren't, I guess, but we don't see what actually happens to him. We just see that they're really angry, and then we move on. So then he goes to planet Tamarata. I don't know where they come up with these names, Tamarata, where the champion of the universe has been killing it in combat against a bunch of like unskilled fighters. I guess, that's what the appeal is, that they're unskilled. Thanos challenges him to a battle where he tricks him into blowing up the planet, leaving him stranded in space. Thanos offers to transport him to the next planet in exchange for the power gem. Champion agrees, and Thanos pulls a dick move where he throws him to the ground from like 1,000 miles up because he never promised a soft landing. Thanos then visits the gardener, who has used his time gem to make this ridiculous garden, which is, like it looks really cool in the comic. Thanos is all like, "Hey man, can I have your time gem?" And the gardener's like, "Not without a battle." So the gardener tries to defeat Thanos by strangling him with vines. But Thanos breaks the vines with no effort and then kills the gardener and takes his time gem. Which brings us to part 2. So now Thanos meets with the collector, who collects all sorts of weird creatures. Like he doesn't collect things; he collects living beings.
Everything.
Everything, just
He
anything.
probably has like a couple violins and accordions and people and
Strata
walruses and stuff.
Yes. All right. So Thanos tells him that he will be in possession of the rarest collectible of them all soon, and that he will trade it for his reality gem. The collector says, "No way are you able to get me something rare and collectible enough that I'm going to give you my reality gem." Thanos is like, "Hold my beer." So, and something that I didn't quite understand, Thanos is like, "Okay, now I wait." And they show him just like waiting, and then he's like, "Oh, okay, well." just as I suspected.
Now we play the waiting game. No, the waiting game sucks. Let's play Hungry Hungry Hippos.
I didn't really quite
I
understand
think
what happened there. That
I
was
think the point of that one was that he thought the collector was going to make a move on him first before he went after the runner.
I see. I mean, yeah, but I don't know why that was like he was even thinking to himself like, oh, perhaps this was not the smartest move, but there's no
A little bit of page
success
filler. A little bit of page
without
filler there.
without risk. Yeah. Yeah, because we needed a page filler. Sheesh, man. All right. All right. So Thanos meets with the runner who has the space gem. At first, it seems that Thanos has no chance of defeating him and taking his gem. But as it is said, the runner's only defense against Thanos is his speed. But he stopped Gloat, so Thanos was able to use the time gem to turn the runner old and gross. He steals the space gem and turns the runner into a baby, which he presents to the collector. The collector happily exchanges his reality gem, which he believes does not even work, for the baby runner. As soon as Thanos takes the gem, he turns the runner back into his natural form, which we have to assume doesn't end well for the collector, because the collector was just going to put this little baby up on his shelf. And
I mean, what else are you going to do? Elf on a shelf? Come on.
yeah, there you go, baby.
Golden baby on a shelf.
Baby, golden baby. Oh, God, I love it. I want to see that baby run, though. That's
Doing that toddler stumble that they all do.
But like,
dunk, dunk,
just like-
dunk, dunk.
just like really fast.
I gotta say though,
Yeah.
I after sitting through all these interactions where he's gathering his jewels, his gems,
Yeah.
I gotta say, does he need to do the dick moves? You already got the fucking stone. You're gonna kill half of everybody. What is the fucking point, you petty bastard? How did you
Exactly.
become so powerful and be so petty?
He's
How
an
can
asshole.
you could run for
But
president of
I
the
don't-
United States?
What
But
I don't even, yeah.
they're also his opponents were fucking dumb. They're all dumb.
Dumb. But
Dumb
the
as-
thing,
what are you gonna do? Fight Thanos with what? Vines? What are you gonna
Well-
do? Turn him into a glass of wine? What the fuck was that?
the gardener was an interesting one. But well, we're
I actually think the gardener, as soon as Thanos showed up, he knew he was dead already.
he knew it.
So he's just
Well-
like, okay, whatever,
well,
man.
no,
Yeah, but couldn't they give him like
you know,
a
that's-
special weapon? He's in a comic book. Like, here's my trowel of justice.
He had
I
no,
believe-
he had what was it? He had the time gem. It's just that
Yeah.
like the deal was with Thanos, Thanos knew how all these gems worked. Most of the people that had them either didn't know how they worked or
Right.
just like were able to attune
I-
to them on a subconscious level.
Yeah.
Thanos was able to use them as tools.
And he
So,
knew.
and he already had 3 of them, I think, by the time he got to the gardener guy.
Yeah.
There was
when-
no way he would defeat him, even if he knew how to use that gem.
But at the same time, you've had this gem how long?
when he got to the gardener, he
You
had
don't-
2 of them.
They don't research this shit. They don't explore and be like, hey, what
Wait.
can this motherfucker do?
Hey, listen.
I have a feeling the way it would be explained is that they couldn't possibly have the comprehension on that level because
Yeah.
it's a cosmic thing.
Mhm.
And that's like Thanos, Silver Surfer, the Beyonders. Like they understand things on a level that someone of that, a lower level couldn't possibly understand because it's like a universal thing. I don't know, something like
Well,
that.
So they
Maybe.
didn't.
This
They
sounds
didn't-
like evangelicals that they're like, you're not really in the know. This is
They didn't research the gems because they didn't have Wikipedia back then.
Oh,
So they
that
were like,
explains it.
Let's go look at
This
this.
was the
gem here."
90s.
Yeah, there was. If it wasn't in the Encyclopedia Britannica, they weren't gonna know about it, or they had to do like really, really deep research, and they're just like, whatever. I'm too lazy. All right. So yeah, when he got to the gardener, what did he have? He had the soul gem and the power gem when he got to the gardener, where he got the time gem.
All right, because he used the power gem to like superpower his plants to
Right.
like do a Cronenberg.
Go through his eyes and shit. It was very disturbing
Yeah.
imagery.
Yeah, no, it was
Yes.
that. See, that was one of the things that I was like, okay, this is awesome. This
That
is
was
that
just
was a
That's right.
great
The gardener was
illustration.
trying to strangle him, and then he ended up
So-
using his power.
right,
Look,
right. And he was
I'm not
he's
even
like, fool.
I'm not even gonna.
You know, yeah, yeah.
I,
That was
I,
awesome.
I think that Thanos actually didn't want to hurt him. I think because he was like, hey, he's like, listen,
Yeah.
can I have your gem? If you give me your gem, I'm gonna leave. And the guy's like, no. So, you know, he
Dumb.
basically
Yeah.
he went out with dignity. I think
Did
because he
he?
was, maybe not. I
I
don't
think he went out pointlessly. I really think he was pointless.
you have a vine going through your eye socket. That's probably not very dignified.
No, the
Anyway,
ones coming out of his mouth are the ones that get you.
They were
yeah,
grotesque.
they were
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
with
That's
the
what
whole
gets you.
the whole skull with the mouth open. That's just like it's because the mouth is open that makes it so disturbing.
He
So
actually that character when they draw him like that, he
Yeah.
reminds me of what's his face. If you look at his face in the illustration, the hollowed out eyes and everything, he looks so much like the from Men in Black. What was it? Men in Black 2. They
Yeah.
had a character in there was like one of the villains, and I'm like, that looks just like that guy. But this, I have to say, that was an illustration that actually stuck out to me. So I'm glad you mentioned that, Ken, because I thought that was in its sometimes grotesque. Like if you like,
Yeah.
we all remember Eddie from Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
He was grotesque, but he was fucking cool. You know what
It
I
is a
mean? Like,
cool looking
but he
kind of
looked great. It was
grotesque.
a
Yeah,
great looking
yeah.
thing, and that one actually stuck out. Even back to the clouds. If you look at that cell, even the clouds in the background actually formed this like fan out shape. That one was a really standout drawing. I like
was a
that
I
one.
cool
thought the
thing.
art in all three of them were spectacular. I think
Yeah.
Ron Lim just really captured
Yeah. Well,
cosmic artwork.
what I found interesting is that I thought it was done by a different artist, the Thanos Quest and the Silver Surfer, because
That's what I thought.
it didn't look at all the same. But yeah, there was only one guy who was different, who was the inker, who might have inked it a little differently. I don't know. So so anyway, we got one soul gem left, one infinity stone left, and that's the final boss. Now, this is the Grandmaster who possessed the mind gem. Now, he explains to a disinterested Thanos how well protected the gem is, with shields and teleportation and shit. So he tells Thanos that only death, only his death, only the Grandmaster's death will release the gem, and makes Thanos gamble his 5 gems against his 1. Thanos agrees, and they battle in some weird like laser tag
Yeah.
virtual reality thing. So
No, it's awesome. They put on
Yeah.
power armor.
yeah,
Come
they're
on.
like
They put on power. And it's like, why would you need power armor, but also cool
Why not?
power armor?
hey, you know what? Hey,
Yeah.
it looks cool, right?
You got
So-
it. Flaunt it.
So, oola, yes, when you got it, flaunt it.
Flaunt it, baby.
Hey, yeah. So, all right. So we like think that the Grandmaster won because he like blew Thanos up, but once again, Thanos has put like a what do you call that? Like a red herring, or is it is that not the right word to use? He like put
Lured
a
him.
He put
He's
a
just
robot.
one step ahead of everybody.
Yeah, he put a robot in his place so that the Grandmaster would think that he won. And, like, oh, the Grandmaster's like, great, awesome, cool. And so Thanos is like, no, I don't think so. He destroys all of his equipment and kills the Grandmaster, which allows him to take the mind gem. Now, um, at this part of the story, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed because the last guy, the collector, said, "Oh, you'll find that the Grandmaster is not as easy to defeat as I am." And Thanos was like, "Yeah, I know. I saved him for last because I knew he would be the most difficult." And I'm looking at it and I'm like, "Oh, he's the last guy, and there's still 25 pages left." So I'm like, "This is gonna be some fucking epic battle where he's gonna like, like there's all sorts of crazy shit's gonna happen. But he defeated him just as easily as he defeated everyone else. So I'm like, what was even the point of that buildup? The reason that there were 25 pages left when he got to the Grandmaster was because there was like one page at a time describing all of the fucking gems that had been described 100,000 times already. And
Yeah.
then, and then he's like, oh, Mistress Death, we are now equals. So, he's been so desperately trying to impress her, Mistress Death. But she rejects him once again and refuses to speak directly to him because they are not equals once again. He was her subordinate at first, but now that he has godlike powers, he is her superior. So she will not talk to him. And this is one of the downward spirals that Thanos, I think it's actually the only downward spiral that Thanos actually experiences. But as godlike as he is, it's like the one thing that he can't have. He probably could have it, but he wants to have it real, not because he made it so. But anyway, he goes, what good is having devastating power over the entire universe if you don't have someone to share it with? And then he's holding up the gems, and they're like, all right. So, all right. That was the Thanos Quest. Kind of an interesting story. Let's see. How about Ken? Ken, what do you think?
Well, like about the whole thing.
Well, you could talk about the parts that you found interesting. If you want to talk
Okay.
about part one and then part two, that's fine.
Okay. Um, I don't know. I just really think it was just so well done in so many different ways. And I liked how, they like the way they partitioned out, each challenge for each gem. And, it was kind of like the classical, like it's almost like a hero adventure in a way, that the hero has to fight like each individual enemy that embodies a certain thing. So that was kind of classic in that way. I just think it was done very well. I think the writing of the dialogue was a little bit kind of like faux Shakespearean, that they were
Yes, yes.
like I enjoyed it. It's fun, it's good for like kind of like old timey sci-fi,
It's cheesy as fuck, is I believe the word
okay.
you're looking for.
It takes
know,
itself
you
very
say-
seriously.
Yeah. More than it should, but it's just it was fun. And at the same time, it was just the idea. First of all, I mean, I know, like you were saying, those like what 4 or 5 pages of just explaining what each Infinity Gem did at the end, and they were great. Just the art, each one of those pages
Sure. Yeah.
was incredible, and that's why they showed an entire GI Joe team in the, I think, was it their reality gem
Yeah.
page?
Yeah, I think so. It was the one where like the people made up his brain or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, his head was like kind of like split in half,
Mm-hmm.
and it was showing like everything inside it. And like right in the middle of it, you have it's so I think it's a couple of things melded together, but what it immediately looks like is Cobra Commander standing in front of control of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It could also be a bat, which was one of the robot commandos that Cobra had. And then behind him, you could definitely see Quick Kick
Quick kick.
because they're, yeah. So you could definitely see him. And then they have like, it might be Wild Bill in the background because it's a guy wearing a cowboy hat and he was the helicopter pilot. And there's a couple of other guys in there that, kind of are analogous to the more generic G.I. Joe characters. But there's no way you could say it's not them. And that's why I think
True.
anybody should look at it. I mean, and tell me, do you think that there's any
Oh,
way that's not GI Joe?
Dude, that's Cobra Commander. Come on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You
that's
can't miss
Or
that.
is
You
that
cannot miss that.
Snake Eyes or Rock and Roll or whatever their names are? So that page was the reality gem. That
okay,
was
so
yeah.
right, so it's
Mhm.
the reality, and just the idea that quite, I mean, like it's a significant part of the page
Mhm.
Yeah, it's the whole
Mhm.
bottom half. The GI
that
Joe squad.
it's like, all right, it was obviously GI Joe.
Yeah,
So
and I like that.
yeah, no, so no, that was one of the things that, I already knew about the series, I was interested in it,
Mhm.
and then once I saw that, that's one of those things that as a fan, it's like you knew the people that writing it were the fans of the same thing. So, and I think that's one of the things that endears people to this kind of stuff, because
Sure.
that's, it's exactly what it was, and they did it so well. And just the point at the end, of course, when he, meets with death,
Mhm.
and that's kind of what makes it a parable, which is really great. And another thing that these comics at their best do, that they give you, some kind of, well, you want all these things, but if you go about the wrong way of doing it, then, it's not the way you wanted to achieve what you wanted to achieve. So it's like, it's interesting. And that's something that happens in a lot of mythology, that, like people gain enough power to get what they want, but then,
Mhm.
it's not what they wanted. So,
Oh
I,
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Like
yeah,
like a sort of like a monkey's paw kind of deal. It's like, yeah, you can have it, but there's consequences.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Hmm.
So it's like, and it's always like, I wanted it, but not like this.
Yeah. I didn't want
That's like the
that.
Twilight Zone thing, you know. But that's what was so great about this. It was very classic,
Hmm.
and at the time, I mean, what do you say? This was 1990.
This was 1990, yeah.
So I mean, really well done for that time.
Yeah.
Just the quality of the production, just, fantastic. And it just, it was the beginning of something that later became obviously very successful. But to get to see the beginning of it was really great. And just the idea that it wasn't, even from the Silver Surfer part of it, it
Hmm.
wasn't done cheesily. It was very well handled. I mean, that's one of the things I'm surprised at, is it wasn't like incongruous. It very,
Hmm.
because with a lot of these, comic book legacies, it was like one thing. But I think the really early appearances of Thanos were kind of silly.
They were silly for sure. Well,
Right.
because that was before he had his godlike powers, and that was before he became basically the character who would basically be like, if God hated everyone and only gave a shit about himself, that's Thanos. So yeah, so God, right? Yes, I don't. You didn't unmute yourself when you said that. Yes, okay. Anyway, Dave, how was your experience reading this?
I have a very different take on this.
Oh boy.
First of all, first of
Oh
all,
no.
I'm
Oh
going to
no.
say thank you for clarifying a few things about the cosmic thing with the Silver Surfer. That gave it
Yeah.
a better context. And I will say this too. I think this is some of the best artwork of anything that you've had me read.
Hmm.
I do agree. Like those cells where he's describing each of the rings, those things could be framed and put on a wall.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
was
for
some
sure.
really not, there
Yeah.
was some really good, like we said before, the gardener with the grotesque can be beautiful as well. And there was a lot of those. We made a comment. One of you guys made a comment before, and I think it was Ken. You made a comment about the hero's story, or was it Jason? I don't remember which one
No,
said
that's
it.
good.
That was it. Okay. So I actually agree with you. I fully agree with you,
Hmm.
because even though he's the villain, he's the main character. So it could still be taken as a hero's quest, an anti-hero's quest, as if you will. So what I found frustrating with it is I thought this had the potential, and I know they're trying to do it in two books, but I didn't have any sense. This guy is accumulating. This is the equivalent of going around and you and me going out there and gathering the entire world's nuclear arsenal and getting it from them so that we can use it. There should have, in my opinion, there should have been massive struggle. He should have made massive sacrifices, yada, yada, yada. And I didn't, it felt all too easy. That was my problem with it. It was like, hey, I had a little tumble. This guy had some weeds. That's not a problem. And, so I feel like there should have been more of that
More of
drama.
a yeah, like more of like a struggle
Yeah,
to get
Yeah,
things done. It was a little too easy. Yeah,
I see what
I
you're
that's
agree.
saying, Dave.
Yes.
But I think
Yeah.
that's the point of it. They want you to understand that Thanos is the biggest bad in the Marvel universe, and this is, showcasing him.
but I maybe that's the case. But what that leaves me is like I don't watch Mission Impossible movies, right?
Hmm.
Because I don't want to see, damn,
Yeah.
he's so good.
Yeah.
No, I want to see, give me the pianist. Did you ever see the
I'm sorry.
pianist?
Can you say that a little faster?
Pianist. Pianist. Did you ever see the pianist?
I didn't.
Okay, it's a Warsaw. It's a story of a Jewish piano player trying to
Hmm.
survive in the Warsaw ghettos. Right? Very simple. He's not an action hero. He's just a guy. But man, what this man had to go through, it made it interesting. And that's the thing. It didn't make. I think he had the potential
Yeah.
to be interesting. Like this guy who's like his driver. I'm in love with the death. There was story there that
Hmm.
I feel like it was missed.
Oh,
Uh,
oh, oh! It gets built on. It gets built on later
See
on. Yeah,
that
that's it. Yeah.
that I've
Uh-huh.
heard, but
Hmm.
in this one, I was just like, why? Tell me, give me a couple of pages in another issue where there's real tension, where
Yeah.
you tell me, oh, Thanos fucked everybody up. That's how much of a badass he is. That's not interesting. That's just it is to me anyway. That's just my
Well, the
perspective
next
on
6 issues of the Infinity Gauntlet will make you feel better if you ever get around to reading them.
it. Well, that may be a different story, because that
Um,
sounds like it could be more drama.
it
Yeah. Well,
could. It
this
could.
whole quest is the lead
Yeah.
up to the Gauntlet. I mean, that's the
Yes.
whole point of it,
So
basically.
what the joke that I like to make in my own brain because I've never actually said it out loud is that those first few Silver Surfer issues were the predecessor to Thanos Quest. The Thanos Quest is the predecessor to those next few issues. The next few issues are the predecessor to the fucking Infinity Gauntlet. It's just like this story from the start from Silver Surfer 34 to the beginning of the Infinity Gauntlet was something like a year and a half. It was a major slow burn, which was why I was so surprised that, Dave, what you're saying, I do agree with you. And, like Jason, to your point, yeah, maybe they're showing that it's supposed to be like very easy, but yeah, it's just sort of like here's two issues where Thanos just basically just runs through everyone. And oh, I'm going to do this trick. I'm going to do that trick. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It's like, oh, now he has all the 6 issues. Watching the movie, which I believe was based on the Thanos Quest, right? It was based on that, and then the second one was based on Infinity Gauntlet. That movie it gave it that more like, oh shit, okay, now he's like really putting a lot of work into a lot of effort into it. And I was hoping that that because remember when I said, hey, why don't we do Silver Surfer 44 to 50? Because I thought that was the story of how he collected all the gems. But I opened up 44 and I'm like, he already has all the gems.
Right.
That's not interesting. I don't want to do that. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that this, as amazing as the art is, it did feel a little thrown together, but I don't want to get ahead of. I'm sorry.
So, John, I'll say this now to your
Yeah.
point, and this is something I was thinking about. Hey, let's do these two issues.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, there may be an editorial reasons, or hey, we need to fill two slots in the
Mhm.
schedule of what we're publishing. Maybe that was a reason. But I think had they done one more issue,
Yeah.
to this story arc.
Make it three parts.
They could have done so much more with
Hmm.
that. But again, you never know. Did the budget allow for three? I don't know how comic
And
books
that's
work, but
oh,
there
yeah.
may be like practical reasons why they had to do it in two issues.
And
But if they had three, they could have done a lot, I think.
that's why I was like, I thought at the end when he's at the Grandmaster, I'm like, okay, all of those five were easy, and now they're going to show how easy they were in comparison to this last one, but it wasn't even that. I was like, come on, man, what are you doing? But I don't want to get ahead of myself because Jason has not talked yet. So, Jason,
First,
yeah,
obviously, you know I love this stuff, and Thanos
yeah.
has always been one of my
Mhm.
favorite characters as far as villains go. So for me, just getting to read him, speaking in, basically it's his point of view. He's telling the story, and I find myself rooting for the villain the entire time. So it's like, as
Being
Ken was saying,
Thanos.
the hero's
Yeah.
quest, but
Mhm.
it's really the villain's quest, and we can't help but just be kind of rooting for him to kick all these other guys' asses and collecting these stones. And you know what, dude? You're gonna go and be evil. Go be
Do
extremely
it.
evil. Go do it.
Do
We're
it.
just like rooting for him to get everything. At not one point reading the story was I rooting for any of the other characters.
That's
Like
interesting. Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
they're not necessarily evil, the collector or anything like that. They might do bad things, but they're not necessarily inherently evil. Thanos has always been kind of inherently evil, and
Just evil. Yeah.
when he was a little nice to the gardener, you're like, maybe he's really not going to be so nice by the end of this.
He's like,
And
I don't want to hurt you. It's like, oh, okay.
yeah, no, I kind of
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
So just for me, just seeing it from his whole point of view, and at not one point, like I said, rooting against him, I thought was just
Mhm.
made it even more fun of a read.
Well, so Jason, I actually, unlike the way that you are saying this, I actually found myself, of course, like I knew that it was not going to happen this way because he ends up with the six gems. But, I'm like, oh, this guy, he's like running really fast and there's no way Thanos can catch him. Maybe Thanos won't succeed. And like, maybe I'm in an alternate universe and Thanos doesn't succeed. And then the whole story just flops and isn't
And also,
successful.
I felt
But
like Thanos was kind of like Batman throughout these issues. Like he
yeah,
has every plan ahead. He's planned so far at
yeah,
a time that nobody's going to beat him.
right. But it's just sort of like, I'm like, oh, look how disappointed Thanos looks because he's, the runner broke his thing in half and he was like hanging off the side of it. I was like, oh,
Right.
like Thanos looks like he's not doing so well. Maybe he's not going to get the gem from him. And then I'm telling myself like, well, of course he is. That's what the whole fucking book is. He's getting the gems from everyone by outsmarting them or
We saw the movie.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, we
exactly.
saw the movie. We know he
Yeah.
gets them, right?
Well, I know
Although
that
in very, very different ways in those movies.
I know that Infinity Gauntlet exists, so clearly he
Right.
succeeds.
Right.
So, uh, but it was like okay, you have to know that he's gonna succeed. So it's not really a matter of is he gonna get the gem. It was really more a matter of
Yeah.
how is he gonna do it? Because a lot of the people were giving him trouble. I think the only one who didn't really give him any trouble at all was the first guy in the little sphere prison. So,
Right.
after that, even the gardener was like, yeah, eat my vines. And he's
Yeah, but it
like,
seemed like Thanos was kind of toying with everybody. In the back of his
yeah.
mind, he knew he had all, every time he got a new gem, his
Mhm.
level went up.
He's like,
And, I felt like even at the end when he was facing off against the Grandmaster, like
mhm.
I think he was kind of saying like, yeah, I probably could have just used the gems and just taken them, but I kind of want to play his game
Yeah,
because
yeah, it's true. It's
I
true.
like to play these games because I'm an evil fuck.
I mean, I'm a little piece of shit.
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah. Now, I have always said I am not the biggest fan of Thanos as a character. Whether I'm talking about a hero or a villain, I don't know. Thanos just kind of he's not interesting to me. He's interesting in that, yeah, sure he's smart and he does the things in an interesting way, but I kind of feel like just his personality just irks me. It annoys me. I don't feel frightened for people on their behalf, around him. I just feel like he really is the way that I describe him and the way that I described him when we were doing the Infinity Gauntlet with with Keith was he's really just a little bitch. If he
Yep.
doesn't get his way,
Yep.
he throws a tantrum. And to me, I find that incredibly irritating. I'm like, I I don't know. I don't it's not like watching a cool villain where we're like, "Oh shit, man, I can't believe he did that." He's basically like, "Oh, death still doesn't love me. I'm gonna blow up a planet." I'm like, "You're like a little child throwing a tantrum. You just happen to have way too much power for your own good." So,
I
yeah.
definitely I do agree with you on that because
Yeah.
and I think there was ways that the writers could have made him a more compelling character. So
Yeah.
for one thing for me is like and to me that was a missed opportunity, or maybe that's something they could have done.
I think
And
about
maybe they do it in
they
future
do.
episodes, and I don't know about it. So keep that in mind
Yeah.
Right.
that
So
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
from
But
the point after this, we go to the Infinity Gauntlet, and after the Infinity Gauntlet's over, we go to the Infinity War. And at that point, Thanos is almost like a different character. Like he's almost like
Oh.
on the side of the heroes at that point, and you get to see another
Oh.
side of him.
Interesting.
see,
I haven't
that's
yeah.
good.
I was just gonna say I haven't read Infinity War, so
See,
I'll try to
that
get
would
around
be
to that.
something,
Hmm.
because in this one of the things I was thinking, and again, I'm a writer too. As you guys know, I write short
Hmm.
stories and stuff, and I think about how you can develop something, what they could have been doing. This was all because he was in love with
Death.
death,
Yeah. Hmm.
It's
right?
just such a lengthy story. Like I said, it took a year and a half to get to this point, but it goes on for another,
Yeah.
4 or 5 years
Took a
almost
year and a
to
half to get
complete.
to Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, but
That's
after
the
that,
thing.
there's two more. There's two more
Yeah.
series after that.
And that's the thing, is that they didn't give me something. Some of the comic books, there's been a couple that I've read with you guys that I
Right.
was like, oh shit, this is really good from the beginning. That I was like, all right, this one I actually really like.
Hmm.
What I was thinking is this issue about matter of him loving death, right?
Yep.
That could be interesting. But if you've ever, like, this is a man clearly that is crossed into obsessive behavior,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So what are they really at? We've all met people like this.
Yeah.
We've met people like this, and you know they have an obsession. You hear it, they
Hmm.
bring up their topic of obsession, it'll come up. This is a storyline that's been. So if they would have been like shown a cell where he was resting and he was having a vision of death and all, like a cell, one frame could have given us more,
Hmm.
depth of character in this two episode series.
Yeah.
There was ability because he could be compelling, but like you said, John, he was a little bitch. And you
Yeah.
can make a villain a beloved character. Tony Soprano, one of the
Oh,
most beloved villains of all time.
there's so many cool villains in the Marvel and the DC universe that I'm just sort of like, oh man, I love reading him on the page. He's so cool and he doesn't give a fuck. Thanos gives too much of a fuck, which makes him like less enjoyable to read.
Well, I feel like
Thank
that's
you.
his weakness,
Yeah.
though. You know, what I
Yeah.
mean, Thanos has to have a weakness.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think,
Okay. Yes. It's true.
otherwise he's just
Yeah.
this all powerful that can
And
beat
what's his
Right.
everybody.
weakness?
But it's his own mind that
Is that
really
he
undoes
gives
him.
too much of a shit
Yeah,
about like he gets butthurt too easily, I guess you could say.
Oh, okay. All right.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, Another thing. Now, I like I like to think that I have a pretty decent vocabulary, but I'm reading this story, this book, and it's not like entirely important. It doesn't make it so you don't know what's happening in the plot, but he uses so many words, so many phrases that I'm like, well, I'm curious to know what he's saying because I'm like, I haven't off the top of my head, I'm not thinking of anything, but like
Dichotomy.
I know what a dichotomy is, but that's
Just saying, but
yeah.
the
Mhm.
12 or 13 year old in
Yeah,
1990, like I might have to
1990,
look that up.
Right, right. Yeah, that's a good
1990,
point,
you
Jason.
have to sit there with a dictionary and you have to actually look for the word. I'm on my phone. I'm just like, oh, what does this mean? It's like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I get it. Um, in the first Thanos Quest, it was, let's find him at the sphere of the thing. And by the way, now that we're talking about the sphere, where he said, "Oh, I don't like working for Mistress Death. You know, you can come out with me and you can help me defeat her." And then he broke him out and he was like, "Do you really think that I would do that to my beloved Mistress Death?" Right? Okay. But then Death and her spokesperson confronted him. "Oh, you don't like working for Death?" And he's like, "No, didn't you hear me? I said I it was it was just a trick. Another page filler, which was not
Oh yeah,
necessary."
yeah.
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 Um,
But then we get his inner monologue that shows his true feelings that, he
yeah.
really is gonna,
Oh yes.
screw with her too.
This was this was something that actually kind of made me laugh because the definition was unexpected. So he goes, "I'm opening to listening to further explanation." Thanos says, "I am currently a thrall of Mistress Death." Okay, fine. Like he goes, "A position I chafe in." And
Mm.
I'm like, are you talking about like you're like kind of chafing your dick against something and it gets really uncomfortable? But apparently that's not what it means. That just means, you know, I find very like it. I
It's
find
a
it to be very
struggle.
very unfulfilling in a struggle. Yeah, yeah. So I'm like, anyway, yeah, I could talk about
You
this
guys
for.
can't hear this listening to the podcast, but right now Ken is doing a great impression of the I'm chafing. Eh.
Yeah, but it was all through. It was all through the uh two issues where just Thanos just kept spouting all these words that I'm like, what the fuck is he saying? And if I was a 12-year-old in 1990, uh I wouldn't bother rifling through the dictionary. I just be like, fuck it. I don't need to know what it means. and, and but I kind of feel like, okay, why are you doing that? Why are you making it so that the reader doesn't know what this character is saying? I don't know.
Do you think
Anyway,
that's part of building that character? Like that's trying to show something about him that he's like, I like big words and I cannot
possibly.
like
And I
no.
cannot lie, right? Yeah.
Like he likes big words because it makes me sound fan. Because we have agreed that he's
Yeah.
kind of a dick,
Kind of
and
a
that is
dick.
kind of a dick thing to do.
Mm. Yeah.
I think it was more of the classical comic book thing that he
Yeah.
was more of your, standard villain, but they
Mhm.
were, trying to do the archetype, and that's what was great about these type of comics. Like in, I guess it was like the 70s and the 80s, they would do very like grandiose speech.
Mm.
So that I think that's where like the whole stereotype came from. Like, when a villain comes through, they're gonna give you like a big soliloquy.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
God.
Like I think well, this was a little late for that actually. I think it
Mm.
started much earlier than that, but I think
Like, yeah, it's like the
this
60s
was
or the
just like
70s.
kind
Yeah.
of carrying on the tradition, I suppose.
Hmm.
That's the best way I could think about it, because
You
other than that, what the hell.
he
Yeah.
is an older character. You guys said right. He had appeared years
Yeah,
prior.
in the 70s.
Is that how
He
he
was.
talked then? Because it might just be a continuity thing. If that's
I
what he was talking like then, they're going to keep making him talk that way.
I don't recall. I
Maybe.
honestly like it's the last time I read the
Dude,
two in
they
one
had him
was.
flying in a helicopter. He would
That
go
wasn't
from
that
place
wasn't
to
in
place
canon.
in a
That
helicopter.
wasn't in canon.
and
Oh,
his
okay. All right.
and his I don't know, like, so getting off the way he talks, like, fine, he talks like that because, and to be fair, Doctor Strange also talks like that and he's a hero. So, like, it's just, I think it just depends on the character.
There's a
But
way to do the term of what I call what you're talking about, Ken, is I call it epic language,
mm,
right? And there is a way to do it that is really, really good. Again, you guys know I'm a writer and I'm also a prolific reader since I was a very little kid. And a perfect example to me of using that language to me. So there's certain writers I think that I love them just for the way they string words together,
hmm
right? So for me, for example, in more modern literature was Zora Neale Hurston, Their Eyes Are Watching God. every goddamn sentence in that book sounds like a poem. Every line, every description, it's like everything is alive. But more classic style, J.R.R. Tolkien.
Mm.
J.R.R. Tolkien, when he wrote, he used that language style, and I'm rereading. I'm in the middle of rereading the trilogy for the
Lord
I
of
don't
the
know how many.
Rings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
and I constantly stopping. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy uses language well. So there is a really good way to use that kind of talking. That's like, holy shit, that sounds awesome. And I call that epic talk.
There you go. All right. Um, so I guess oh, there was one other thing that I wanted to say before we move on, and that was that at the beginning of the Thanos Quest number two, they have that recap, and I don't know why they did it this way. It's very visually unappealing. They had so the last line in the first paragraph starts there on the bottom, and so the top of the next whatever what do you even call that divisor?
That's
It's just
weird.
why did they do it that way? I don't understand.
Paragraph.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
it was just like the sentence starts, then one day while, and on the next line, it's in the next divisor
Column.
column. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you,
yeah.
Dave.
Nerd. Say it,
Hey,
nerd.
you could be Thanos's writer. Anyway, yes, he writes in a column. I don't know why he talks like that, but anyway, so yeah, I did not understand why they did it that way. It was very distracting to me because I notice things to the point where it actually becomes distracting. I have ADHD, and so something like that will just be very, very distracting to
You
me.
know what that
So
reminds me of? That
was
reminds me of, because hey, maybe this is true because it was the 90s and the product was around.
uh,
You know how like in Microsoft Word, if you move your picture 2 pixels to the right, it realigns everything on the page. And I wonder if that was one of those things that they're trying to make it. And if I would believe that if it weren't for the fact that I know that they write these by hand.
by
But
hand.
that's what it looks like.
They
That's what
sent it to the
Uh,
printer. It was too late. That's all
I
I
mean,
can
I don't
do.
know. I don't know.
it
It kind of looks like it's typed, but they actually do write the
Right. Yeah,
dialogue in the
yeah,
thing. So
yeah.
like I don't know, but I'm just sort of like, why is it laid out this way? Because and if you look at this, there's space on the bottom. There's
Oh
no
yeah.
space. There's no space on the bottom of any of the other ones. It's just that one. So I'm like, what is this? Why are they doing it this way? They're
Artistic choice.
they're doing it just to fuck with
Yeah.
my ADHD
Jason,
brain.
you
That's it.
know full well the pencil. What do they call the inker? Is that what
The
they
inker,
call it?
yeah,
The
whatever,
inker
penciler, yeah.
was writing in the words, and then he was like, "Oh fuck, I should have started at the next column."
Yeah.
Oh
Oh yeah.
well, no one will notice. And then this asshole, 30 years later, is like, "What the fuck was he thinking?"
Nobody's reading the recap anyway. They're just going
Nobody's
right.
reading it. I mean, so maybe under normal circumstances, I would have just skipped through this whole part, but because I'm doing it for the episode, I'm like, I want to make sure I got everything. And then, I'm like, all right, I can't get through this fast enough because that is just dangling in the bottom there. So anyway, that's just something that I wanted to say about it. And I also wanted to talk about Thanos's physical appearance when they show him full body. I don't know. There's just something very unappealing about it. He is not one of my favorite villains to read. I liked him in the movies, but I don't like him in the comics. So, does anyone else have any closing thoughts about this?
Yeah, I want to just give one more shout out to the artist Ron Lim. I
All right,
obviously just in love with this artwork. I've met the man. I've gotten him to sign stuff for me before. I
nice.
think he's awesome. And just like even like the small things, just like when they show a close up of Thanos' eye or like the gritting
Oh
of
yeah,
his teeth, like it's like nothing like in comparison to the rest of the art in the book. But those small moments just I don't know, just
yeah.
captures so much.
That
You
looks
talk
cool. I
about
like that. Yeah.
you talked about the small moments. So right at the end, when he finds out that death isn't gonna be his equal now, right?
Mm.
And there's right at the end, there's like 5, 6 frames where you see them zooming in on the announcer, the one who speaks for death, like the rat face,
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
right?
yes. Uh-huh.
And you just
Yeah,
see
he
them.
explodes his ass.
Yeah, but what I like that was cool because I thought it was kind of
Yeah.
gruesome and I liked it. But that there's like 6 cells where you see like rat guy close up of Thanos' face, closer on the rat guy, and now you get to the eyes and you
Yep.
see how they illustrate that Thanos goes from like this expression
Mm.
to like a glowering. Like
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
thought that was
Yeah,
very well done.
exactly.
Your artist guy, I don't know, I forget his name. That was
Something
good.
Lim.
That was good work. That was creative. I liked how they did that.
Ron Lim. Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Jim Starlin, I don't know if you guys remember this. I think it was in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but they actually give him a shout out, and there's a bar called Starlin's in one of the
Oh,
planets.
very nice. That's cool. Uh, so is that it? Are we done here?
It could be.
All right. So, before we get into plugs, I want everyone to know that you must tune in to the next episode because Mr. Ken Radner will be hosting the episode about martial law, the first 6-issue run of martial law. Ken tapped his microphone, so I thought he was going to say something, but he's just nodding.
I'm not saying anything right now.
No. Okay. I understand.
Even
that.
though I'm speaking, there's nothing being said.
That
Martial
sounds
law. Okay, so I'm sorry. Going along with our set of comics that are kind of like the more, sarcastic, kind of darker take on comics that happened around like the very late 80s
Mhm.
and then continued after that. So martial law was one of these, and it was really great. And there's a lot of common themes that have carried through. So I thought it would be interesting to go through that one. It's going to be a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
It will be a lot of fun. And I believe this will be the panel.
I'm down.
All right.
I'm down.
Cool. Okay.
Hey, DJ Nick didn't show up. It's me now, motherfuckers.
That's right. Well, it was never going to be DJ Nick for that one. Oh, and Dave, I'd like to make you feel better because I've had guests come in after you dropped out. So, just saying.
It happens. It happens.
Just saying.
It happens.
Yeah. All right. And of course, it's always a pleasure to have you on here, Dave. Whether you
Love
are
it.
a fill-in, whether you are, I don't know, naked in front of the screen, which is actually, we're still waiting for that to happen. But
That's on my other podcast, which is called Dave Naked on the Screen.
is it a video podcast?
God, no.
Oh, jeez.
Audio
No.
only on that one.
All right. Well, let's get into plugs. How about you, Dave? Where can we see you naked?
Just walk outside my bedroom window.
All right. Just tap, tap,
the-
tap.
No, the irony is, by the way, when I moved into this building, you've been over.
I have not been into your apartment. I've been in
Oh,
the
you were in our
building. Yeah.
party room. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right downstairs.
Mhm.
So my bedroom. So we have in the backyard of this building. There's actually a pool.
Mhm.
So my bedroom window. I'm on the first floor. My bedroom window is like right out by the pool. So it's very weird when summertime comes around and there's people out and about and everybody's walking by my bedroom window. It's like I'm laying there in my PJs reading or some shit like that. It's very awkward. I got to be constantly aware of making sure I have pants on and stuff. I hate it.
Or
hate
pull the shades down. I don't know. Just saying.
Why would
I
I
mean-
do that?
I mean, yeah, that is a weird layout.
Oh, and the other thing is, all right. So the other thing is, right outside my bedroom window, there's a bathroom that's downstairs, so people when they're using the pool, they could just go downstairs. So the stairs that go down to the bathroom they start at my bedroom window, so they literally walk like right up to the glass to come in there. So you got to really be careful what you're wearing around your house.
You gotta get some
Amen.
of that one-sided mirror or something going on there.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
oh yeah. Okay. So other than knowing where you live and how to look into your apartment, where where can people find you for things that they're meant to see
Yeah, with pants.
with
You can
pants and
find
all
me on
that?
Facebook as Dave Aguilar. I'm very easy to find, and please stop in, say hello, and friend me, whatever. I love making new friends. I can also be found on basically just Dave, which is my handle on Instagram. I do a lot of I am into photography, so I do a lot of creative work, and I also do a lot of bullshit work on there. Also, as I mentioned, I am a writer. You can find what I write at ariesdesk.blogspot.com. That's EYRIES, ariesdesk.blogspot.com. It's all very depressing and very sad. So come on down when you're happy and you're tired of feeling joy.
And read it at the pool.
Yeah, with no pants.
Okay. Ken.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, that was good.
Can I help you with something?
Yes, I want you to plug yourself.
Okay.
Oof. Oh,
Oh,
Crazy.
oh.
on camera.
On camera.
Okay.
And then
Here
listen,
we go.
do it on camera,
We didn't.
but make a lot of noise while you're doing it.
No, that'll be great. But like, okay, we didn't negotiate this. Anyway, thank you, everybody. You can find me on Facebook, Ken Radner. Also, there's a couple of groups on Facebook I belong to and podcasts you can listen to. It's Star Trek, the Undiscovered podcast, which is ending its third season. We're about to get ready to move into our fourth, and everyone here has been a guest on that show and will be again. And the things we're going to do to them will be biblically wrong. So I think that's something to tune into.
Question: is it New Testament or Old Testament biblically wrong? Because they're very different.
You know what? I'm gonna make sure it violates both
All right.
simultaneously.
That's I'm
You
going to
know,
get
so
circumcised and I'm going to reattach my foreskin.
it's gonna be, it's gonna be interesting. That's all I can say. And you know what? You're all gonna have to tune in to find out.
Love it.
All right. I
So
will
yeah, no, it's gonna be great. So yeah, go ahead. Go
I'll
ahead,
I'll
John.
I'll I'll
Interrupt me,
I'll
bitch.
tune into my own episode and find out what you're doing to me of wrong on biblical whatever you said. I mean, you already tried to fuck me in the ass with that one shit episode. I got lucky because I pulled the one that was the least shitty of all.
That was the least you I mean, I gotta say,
Yeah.
you dodged a bullet with that one, my man. And
Well,
I bow to your superiority in that
oh
sense,
well,
my
thank you.
good sir.
But it's
Yes.
it's like it's like I said, I was actually a little disappointed by how not shitty it was because as you know, I do make a habit of having long drawn out discussions about shitty media on a little podcast that I do that I'll talk about in a little bit. But Jason,
You can find me on Facebook, fully pantsed. Last name is Gurin, spelled Gurin, in case you're looking. And I'm part of this group called Comic Book Villains. More than welcome to come join us there. We love to just talk comics and just bullshit about stuff. Pretty much anything nerdy, but comics obviously takes the center stage.
talk
And
nerdy
Ken,
shit.
I'm also a little upset. I really wanted to be on that last one with you guys. I just couldn't do it. The Tom Paris Janeway Space Lizard episode. That would have been absolutely fun to destroy.
That just sounds like a bunch of random words strung together.
He knows what I mean.
Damn you. Damn you. Damn you. You
Notice
glorious bastard.
all three of us are laughing, and John's like, I don't know what that is, but I like the combination of words.
I like it. Yes. It's a
Every
good
time that gets mentioned, I lose another level of respect about myself. So thank you very
That's good.
much, son.
Oh,
That's
we
good.
can all help you with
Good for
that
you.
though. That's look, we're all here. We're all trying to just talk down to you. That's what we do here. So Me, I'm John Seymour, Jon space Seymour. That's me on Facebook. It's like a selfie, but you can't tell that it's a selfie because I cut off my arm in the picture, not in real life. So I'm smiling at the camera. I have a beard and brown hair. That's me. I don't know. So yeah, listen to other episodes of The Hour of Comics is upon us. Dave is on like half of them. So, you know, that's what we do. Um, listen to Bullshit Hour with John Seymour and its subsidiary. This podcast is Lamb Chops, which when I have the time, which I never will, I will get into doing more of those. Uh, yeah, I guess that's it.
Wait, one more thing.
Yes.
I saw the pictures, bro. Congratulations.
Oh, yes, because I recently graduated from graduation school.
Very happy for you. You deserve it.
Yeah.
You earned it.
John is a professional, a trained professional.
Well, I'm hanging up now because I am no longer good enough to be on this podcast.
Occupational therapist.
Nice.
Yes, that is correct. Wait,
Yeah, I'm legitimately happy for you, man. Seriously, congratulations.
Thank you.
Honestly, all joking aside.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was a hell of a journey. There were stories that I could tell that would take up like 6 podcast episodes, and no one would actually want to hear them. So, I'm not going to tell those stories. So anyway, yeah, that's it. We did everyone, right?
Sure did.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. All right. So then on that note, I will say good. Okay, Ken wants to like shove fingers up someone's ass.
Is he trying to offer free prostate exams? Because if you are, I am in.
Oh, the nose. I see.
Oh, okay.
He's still plugging.
Yes. All right. So on that note, I will say good night, Ken. Good night, Jason. Good night, Dave.
Good night, boys.
Good
Good
night,
night,
Moon.
everyone.